What's happening, people? We're back here once again on CubCamTV for another edition of Marvel Watch as we jump into today's review. We're going to be getting into a conversation about the final episode of the What If series and, of course, breaking down the series as a whole, our general thoughts on it and what we think we can expect from the Season 2, which I believe has officially been announced. So, first of all, if you haven't already, please make sure you are hitting that subscribe button on the right-hand side of the page that is slightly concealed by the new Marvel Watch logo. As you can see probably behind me, I've been doing out bits of my room, so we've got a few more Marvel posters on the walls. This is definitely a section of the channel I want to build. I'm a massive Marvel fan. I try to stay up to date with pretty much everything that's happening within the MCU and, again, the surrounding areas, so we are going to be doing more Marvel-related content on this channel, alongside the song reactions and sports stuff as well. Massive shout out to everyone getting involved in the channel as well, and everyone who did put stuff forward for the previous video. I really enjoyed doing it, and in general, I'm just enjoying looking at more Marvel-related stuff, so let's dive right into this. So today, this final episode of the What If series, I think it went by the name of What If the Watcher Broke His Oath. Quite a cool way to kind of round it up, and I think the thing that I found most interesting about this series as a whole is the fact that the Watcher, played magnificently by Jeffrey Wright, got more and more involved in the series as it went on. At the start, he was quite literally just in the background, and then the more and more things went on, the more you suddenly see him talk, the more you see him get involved, until right up into this last episode, you then see him pretty much picking people. You see him pick Thor up off the floor. I love the idea of essentially calling it Guardians of the Multiverse as well. He assembles this team, as you can see on the screen. You've got Captain Carter, you've got Star-Lord, T'Challa, you've got Killmonger, you've got Gamora. I don't know where the Gamora's from. I may have missed something, or maybe misread something that was going on. It definitely seemed like that was quite a random character to have pop up. You've got obviously the Doctor Strange, whose universe collapsed around him, and then on top of that, obviously you've got Party Boy Thor in there as well. Now, this was the team that was assembled to take down essentially an all-powerful Ultron. This is an Ultron who has the power of the Infinity Stones available. Also, obviously, Vision's body, just everything going in his favor at this moment in time. I can't lie, I really enjoyed the assemblance of the team. I think the way it all came together was really cool. I think they had a really cool range of personalities in here. Obviously, Party Boy Thor being somewhat of the comic relief. I thought T'Challa as a character in this was great, and again, it was fantastic to see what I now do believe will be Chadwick Boseman's last outing as T'Challa, and I think in anything, so obviously rest in peace to T'Challa. And obviously, rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman, the legend that he was. So just in general around this episode, I think they actually dealt with it quite well. It felt very, very comic booky. As soon as we started seeing Ultron-related fight scenes, everything got a lot more comic booky. The bit where we're seeing Thor kind of firing off Mjolnir's thunder into the sky to take him out looked really cool. Again, very comic booky. The sort of fight scenes we were seeing between Strange and Ultron as well worked really, really cool. I love the fact he just constantly had bits of like random beast like popping out of him during the fight scenes. And as well, Captain Carter playing quite a crucial role in this one as well, just in the way that she's getting involved. Again, it finished off quite interestingly with Romanoff being essentially the one to complete the task. We see Captain Carter jump into the air and pull Ultron's head back, and then obviously Natasha Romanoff fires the arrow, which is still loaded up with the Zola program, the Zola virus as it's been sort of dubbed online, and that literally lands in Ultron's neck, shuts him down, and then there's this sort of power play going on. We then see Killmonger getting involved. He picks up the stones, and then it goes into a sort of back and forth between Killmonger and Zola in Ultron's body, trying to fight for the stones, and then we see the episode pretty much round off, and the threat disappear with Doctor Strange imprisoning them in a sort of pocket universe within a universe that then gets transferred back to Doctor Strange's defeated and pretty much empty universe. So a lot of emptiness and a lot of universes going on here, but it works really well. It's a good way of kind of rounding off the series as well, I found. So interesting things in this. I don't really think Gamora did much, which she hasn't really seemed to pop up much in this series, doing much regardless, to be honest with you. I did like T'Challa's input on this. this. And I like the fact that once the team had been assembled, the Watcher pretty much went, you know what, Doctor Strange, you deal with it. You sort it out. You've had enough issues. You know how to pull this team together. And it was pretty much Strange in charge of everything. I actually quite like the fact that Thor was the comic relief in this. I didn't particularly... The one thing I wasn't super happy with in Endgame was that Thor pretty much was entirely there for comic relief, apart from a couple of scenes where he gets to kind of Norse dreads and he does the thundery thing and obviously becomes a bit of a Norse-looking warlord. But apart from that, you don't really see too much of him being useful in Endgame. In this, at least, you see him sort of jumping around and throwing hammer blows and stuff. The scene I really liked was when you see... essentially Doctor Strange multiply Mjolnir. So you see hundreds of these hammers kind of flying at Ultron, and it doesn't really scratch him. But then later on in the program, he like throws Mjolnir, and it hits Ultron in the arm, takes off his arm, and then he has to regenerate an arm. So it's bizarre how the different power levels were working throughout the episode. Something else I noticed, which was quite interesting, was how in-depth Natasha Romanoff's character was in these 2 episodes, especially considering that today Black Widow has gone live on Disney Plus to watch for free. It's no longer a case of you having to pay for it. You can now watch it on Disney Plus for free. And as of yesterday, Scarlett Johansson, obviously, who plays Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow, she came out and said everything's been sorted with Disney after a long, ongoing sort of legal debate back and forth. So it's interesting how all of these things have kind of culminated over the course of 2 days. That bit of news landing, the Black Widow film landing on Disney Plus, and then we actually see her involvement over these last 2 episodes. She's been very sort of centric to this Ultron plotline. Obviously, the last human left on the Earth that we believe to be our Earth. Well, obviously, it can't be our Earth because it is an alternate reality because Ultron won. But it's like the most like ours that we've seen throughout the entire thing. And then she gets transported back to a different version of reality with all the Avengers there. Really, really well done. I did like the post-credit scene as well. Make sure you do watch to the end because there is a post-credit scene on this, which a lot of people didn't actually know was there because it's very, very quick. But you see basically Captain Carter in the 21st century. They are on board the ship. At the start of Captain America, the Winter Soldier, they're on board that ship, and you see her go downstairs and go into the cargo hold. And inside that cargo hold, you see the iron. Is it the Hydra Stomper? I think it's called. It's like an Iron Giant looking suit, but you see the Hydra Stomper suit, and that is in storage. And then they go, look what they found, and she goes, oh, the Hydra Stomper. This is what they were after. And then you hear Scarlet go, there's someone inside it. So again, we see this fantastic reunion of Peggy and Steve. Every single sort of recreation of the Marvel Universe, we get to see this recreated. And every single time it just puts a smile on my face. It's quite lovey-dovey. It's quite sort of fantasy, fairy tale ending stuff. But for some reason, their sort of thing over time always just makes me quite happy. You know, like the best. I'm so happy looking back on it that Endgame finished with those two basically dancing in a living room to that song that obviously is such a iconic song within their storyline. So yeah, fantastic stuff there. Moving forward, overall, as a series, I really did enjoy it. I've got to say, every week surprised me. There were a couple of episodes which I didn't think were as good. I wasn't particularly fond of the Killmonger and Iron Man episode. I think the first episode didn't encapsulate many people as much as it could have, but in the long run, it's definitely played its part. And I think throughout this as well, the thing I was most worried about when we were looking at this series was whether Marvel were going to be able to make an animated series seem cohesive with everything that's been going on in the live-action side of the MCU. However, through a combination of getting a good amount of the original voice actors back in for this, I think Jeffrey Wright's sort of position on it worked really well. They've worked humour into it really well. They have made it quite accessible for people who maybe haven't watched animated programs before. There are bits of it that remind me of Avengers Assemble, which is essentially a kids program, if we're being entirely honest. But the vast majority of the show works very well as an MCU title, and I'm very happy it is one of the MCU editions. And I think what they've done quite well is almost give what is essentially a comic book style of approach, basically going multiverse stuff in a comic book format, which is if you were to turn a comic book into into sort of video, it'd be animated. That's how it would look. So this is basically bringing a comic book to life with a very comic book style Marvel theme, and it's quite a good way of bridging the gap for people who may not have ever read comics or been too into the comics but are into the MCU like myself, or people that have never really watched animated series and weren't too sure about how it could relate back to the MCU as a whole, one being live action, the other being animated. Obviously we've seen this in Star Wars for years, through Clone Wars and Rebels, and the Resistance one I think as well is canon. They're such a big part of what goes on in the Star Wars universe. It's the first time we've seen Marvel kind of branch into that as well, and I'm very happy that Disney were able to push it through. But yeah, overall as a series, I did really enjoy it. I love the fact we didn't know what we were going to get week in, week out. I love the sort of reinvention of so many characters. A personal highlight, of course, would have to be good guy Thanos. I think Josh Brolin absolutely smashed that in episode 2. Again, I like Party Boy Thor. I like, obviously, T'Challa as Star-Lord. That's a great recreation. And just in general, another one, obviously, Loki as a Frost Giant. I thought that was awesome. And yeah, there was just a lot of cool recreations of characters as well. I think it was a good way of, again, reimagining the MCU with different sort of parameters and things like that. For Series 2 then, the series finishes off basically with Doctor Strange essentially looking at a pocket universe whilst in his own pocket universe. I can't help but feel that will have some sort of tie into the Multiverse of Madness. We've already seen footage kind of leaked of Ultron bots essentially being in Multiverse of Madness, so I can't help but feel maybe this is somehow tied into things. It'd be a real shame if Ultron is already done for the MCU. I think he's been such an underutilized villain for the Avengers. I love Ultron as a concept and as a character, and in this one we got to see how powerful he could be, but again, we only saw it for 2 episodes. We didn't really see much of how cool he could be as a long-term bad villain. It'd be great to see him return in Multiverse of Madness. I don't think it will be him, though. I think it will be Kang, who will be the lead villain, but we will see. In regards to Season 2, though, again, there's so many things we're going to be able to see. We might even start seeing some of the newer content, i.e. Eternals, Shang-Chi. We might see a bit more Spider-Man-related stuff moving forward. And there's just so many different avenues this can go down. We might see a bit more of maybe Yellow Jacket. We didn't see Yellow Jacket in this at all, apart from when Hank Pym was wearing the suit. We didn't see, if I'm trying to think back over villains that have appeared, we didn't see Ghost from Ant-Man either. We didn't see anything from Ghost. There's so many places this could go, especially with the new Thor film coming up, and obviously Gore the God Butcher being involved. And I believe Russell Crowe is confirmed to play Zeus. I'm pretty sure that's correct in that as well. So there's a whole other avenue of sort of Greek mythology they could then dive down. I think overall it's been a real success of a series. So there we go. And it's also given me the opportunity to kickstart this section of the channel up, which I'm very excited to be able to do. So thank you all of you who have watched this breakdown. If you want to see more Marvel related content or anything review wise, please do let me know. And do remember, you can catch me over on Breakfast with Kovu 7 till 10 Monday to Friday on Trickstar Radio. We do a section at around 7:45 in the morning, basically giving you a bit of a Marvel roundup, so looking at all the latest Marvel news that has landed, whether it be MCU, whether it be game-based, whether it be sort of new trailers that are landing. We try to do a bit of coverage every day, so if you are looking for a bit more of a daily Marvel fix, you can look into the show there and download the app. It's the best way to look in, I tend to find. But that's it from me, though, people. Hopefully you have enjoyed this video, and we shall see you all next time. Peace.
Sounding so good right now. My sound in a Brighton town.
Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel right now, CubCamTV. Stay locked.